Aló, aló. Sí. Muy buenos días a todos y todas. Qué gusto ver este auditorio lleno y contar hoy con estudiantes de distintas carreras, facultades y escuelas de nuestra universidad. En nombre de la Universidad Adolfo Ibáñez quiero darles una muy cordial bienvenida a una nueva encuentro de nuestro ciclo Embajadores. Saludo especialmente a nuestras autoridades, el rector que preside esta ceremonia y autoridades decanos, académicos y colaboradores que nos acompañan, especialmente a nuestro invitado hoy del día de hoy, el embajador de Estados Unidos, que nos acompaña y luego haremos su presentación. Y, por supuesto, a todos nuestros estudiantes que son finalmente quienes le dan sentido a este tipo de encuentros. Hoy tenemos una buena oportunidad para conversar directamente con uno de los principales representantes diplomáticos acreditados en nuestro país y conocer de primera fuente cómo Estados Unidos está mirando su relación con Chile y algunos de los grandes temas internacionales que están marcando nuestra época. Para quienes participan de nuestros estudiantes por primera vez, les cuento brevemente que este ciclo Embajadores, que es organizado conjuntamente con la Escuela de Gobierno, la Decanatura de Pregrado y Relaciones Internacionales, busca hacer en definitiva parte de lo que es nuestro modelo educativo, pensar, reflexionar, discutir, debatir sobre los grandes temas de nuestro país, de nuestra sociedad. Queremos que estos encuentros nos permitan salir por un momento de las clases para conocer de primera fuente cómo distintos países entienden los desafíos internacionales y cómo están construyendo su relación con Chile. Hemos recibido así embajadores de Nueva Zelanda, de Noruega, de China y hoy tenemos el agrado de recibir al embajador de Estados Unidos. El embajador Brandon Judd, bienvenido. Embajador Judd fue nominado por el presidente Donald Trump y confirmado por el Senado de los Estados Unidos el 7 de octubre del año 2025 como embajador de Estados Unidos ante Chile. Antes de asumir esta responsabilidad, desarrolló gran parte de su trayectoria profesional vinculada a la seguridad pública y fronteriza en Estados Unidos. Fue agente de la patrulla fronteriza de Estados Unidos entre el año 97 y 2023 y durante más de una década, entre el 2003 y 2024, presidió el National Border Patrol Council. Desde este rol trabajó y asesoró a distintas administraciones y legisladores estadounidenses en materia de seguridad pública y ha comparecido como testigo experto ante el Congreso de Estados Unidos en 19 oportunidades. Pero hay también una conexión personal bastante especial con nuestro país. El embajador Judd conoció Chile por primera vez durante la década de los 90, cuando estuvo realizando una misión de servicio. Hace pocos minutos nos compartía cómo estuvo en La Ligua, en Calera, en Valparaíso, y fue esa etapa donde aprendió muy bien el español, de manera que su relación con Chile comenzó mucho antes de convertirse en embajador. Es padre, abuelo y ha vivido durante muchos años en Arizona. Como embajador, una de sus prioridades es seguir fortaleciendo la relación bilateral con nuestro país, particularmente en ámbitos como la seguridad, la cooperación y el comercio y la inversión. Embajador Judd, muchas gracias por acompañarnos en la Universidad Adolfo Ibáñez. Es primera vez que nos visita, así que sea usted muy bienvenido y lo invito a pasar adelante. Bueno, y como moderador de esta conversación nos acompaña el profesor de la Escuela de Gobierno, el doctor Fernando Alvarado, a quien también invito a pasar adelante. Fernando, con una larga trayectoria en materias de cooperación internacional. Y para entrar en conversación, solamente decirle que este encuentro metodológicamente va a tener dos partes. Una parte en que el actor va a estar coordinado por Fernando, quien va a hacer unas preguntas al embajador que hemos preparado. Vamos a disponer de 20 minutos. Y luego los actores se convierten en ustedes. Vamos a tener micrófonos abiertos y el embajador quiere conversar, dialogar con ustedes para que formulen preguntas. Sí le pedimos que sean preguntas concretas porque disponemos en total para esta actividad de 1 hora. Dicho eso, dejo con la palabra a Fernando para que inicie este conversatorio. Fernando.
Vale. Muchas gracias, Carlos. Muchas gracias, señor embajador, por su presencia. Bueno, bienvenidos todos a este evento con el embajador de Estados Unidos de América, el señor Brandon Judd. Me gustaría agradecer una vez más al embajador por aceptar nuestra invitación para dirigirse a toda la comunidad de la Universidad Adolfo Ibáñez, a profesores, estudiantes y profesionales. Y comencemos con algunas preguntas para el embajador, a fin de conocer su visión sobre el mundo actual, liderazgo global, desarrollo económico, Chile y el papel de las universidades. Sí, ya. Usted lleva, primera pregunta, embajador, usted lleva casi 10 meses como embajador de Estados Unidos en Chile, pero ya estuvo en la década de los 90, como ya fue mencionado en la reunión que tuvimos con anterioridad y por Carlos, ¿no? ¿Cuál fue su primera impresión de Chile en los años 90 y cómo se compara con su experiencia en la actualidad? ¿Qué cambió en Chile en estos años?
Bueno, antes de contestar la pregunta, ¿puedo hacer algo un poco diferente? Bueno,
Por
yo
supuesto.
necesito 5 voluntarios para responder una pregunta. 5. 5 voluntarios. 1, 2, 3, 4 y 5. Ok. La pregunta es, y es muy importante, si ustedes fueran el embajador de Chile en los Estados Unidos, ¿qué serían sus objetivos? Si ustedes fueran el embajador de Chile en los Estados Unidos, ¿qué serían sus objetivos? Bueno, el primero, por favor. Sí. Ok, rápido. Los objetivos que la comunicación sea rápido. ¿Qué más? ¿Quién? Ok, entonces usted compartiría lo que es importante a su país en los Estados Unidos y también con los otros embajadores de otros países, ¿sí? ¿Es correcto o no? Ok, all right. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? ¿Quién? Y fue 3, el cuarto, ¿ok? Ok. Y había uno más. ¿Quién fue? Ok, está bien. Ok, gracias. Y solo una más pregunta. Bueno, el rector, voy a preguntarle a él. ¿Por qué cree usted que yo quiero saber la respuesta de esta pregunta? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué cree? Es muy inteligente, entonces él debe tener la respuesta.
Bueno, me imagino que es parte de poder elaborar su respuesta que le preguntó Fernando. Yo creo que debe ser la pregunta que más le hacen a usted, digamos, qué es lo que va a hacer en Chile. Y creo que es muy importante y es una característica de nuestra universidad el compartir, el debatir, el escuchar a otro. Y en ese sentido, el inteligente parece ser usted porque está preparando su respuesta adecuadamente.
Bueno, él es inteligente. Todavía no les voy a explicar por qué hice la pregunta, voy a contestar la pregunta. ¿Qué ha cambiado? ¿Qué ha cambiado en los 33 años desde que yo estuve aquí antes? Bueno, primero, yo nunca estuve en Santiago, entonces yo no conocía Santiago para nada. ¿Okay? Solo estuve cerca de Valparaíso, esto nomás. Como misioneros somos en partes muy distintos y en partes que son muy pequeños. Pero lo que he visto que ha cambiado mucho es que la economía ha crecido bastante. Cuando yo estuve aquí antes, the World Bank, ¿está bien si a veces hablo en inglés? ¿Está bien? Bueno, espero que está bien. The World Bank recognized Chile as a lower income country en los 90s. Pero ahora, Chile is considered a high income country. Cuando yo estuve aquí antes, había muy poca gente que tenían autos. Okay? Casi todo. Bueno, yo estuve aquí antes que ustedes nacieran. Okay? Entonces, pero habían tantas micros. Tantos micros. Había poca gente, pero ahora casi todos tienen autos. ¿Okay? Cuando yo estuve aquí antes, para hacer una llamada por teléfono, tuve que, you had to bring, y tuve que hablar con un operador antes que podía hablar con otra persona. Okay? Entonces, ha cambiado bastante. Hay muchas cosas que ha cambiado y es muy interesante a ver cómo ha crecido su país. Ustedes han hecho algunas cosas muy buenas, porque los países no crecen en tan poco tiempo como ustedes han crecido.
Muchas gracias, señor embajador. La segunda pregunta, en el actual orden mundial, ¿no? Tema muy recurrente en estos tiempos, caracterizado por un mundo cambiante y con diversas crisis, ¿cuál cree usted son los temas centrales en la agenda bilateral entre Estados Unidos y Chile, en los cuales debemos cooperar con más fuerza y con más coordinación?
Yo tengo, la experiencia que tengo yo es en la seguridad. Eso es lo que conozco. He sido considerado, I've been considered an expert in security. That's where I made my career. That's how I became known in the United States. One of the things that I think that we can work together on is security. That's very important for the United States. I know that it's also very important for Chile. El crimen organizado, el crimen la crimen de oportunidad. Hay muchas cosas en que podemos trabajar. Entonces, porque es muy importante para ustedes y también para nosotros, este es uno de los temas que nosotros podemos lograr mucho. Y hasta este momento hemos logrado mucho. En este momento, su país tiene algo que ningún otro país en esta región tienen. Tienen un vetted FBI unit. Y lo que significa es que su PDI, los carabineros, ahora tienen la misma información que nuestra FBI tiene. Okay? También INL, International Law Enforcement. We have cooperation here that no other country has, and that's just come about in the last 4 months. In the last 4 months, we've already been able to get that. So we believe that we're going to be able to go after organized crime, to do the best that we can to drive crime rates down here, which we believe will also help the United States.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. La tercera pregunta es, la historia de Estados Unidos se ha caracterizado por ser una historia muy exitosa de inmigración, ¿no? Que llega para formar una nación que es potencia global hace décadas. Sin embargo, en la actualidad, la inmigración se ha transformado en un problema global en muchos países del mundo, ¿no? En su experiencia, ¿cuál cree son las claves para tener en la actualidad una inmigración que aporte a un país y que ayude a su desarrollo?
Primero, la inmigración es un tema que es muy difícil por diferentes razones. Nosotros creemos en inmigración legal. Nosotros recibimos de todos los países de todo el mundo, nosotros recibimos más inmigrantes legales de cualquier otro país del mundo. ¿Okay? Entonces creemos en inmigración legal, pero es la inmigración ilegal que necesitamos hacer algo. Y pero tengo que pensar en mí mismo. Si yo estuve, digamos, en como Nicaragua, ¿okay? Cuando yo fui un nuevo agente de la patrulla de fronteriza, había mucha gente de Nicaragua. Y si yo estuve en Nicaragua, también yo me imagino that I would have also wanted to come to the United States. If I was in Venezuela 3 years ago, I probably would have wanted to come to Chile. This probably would have been a destination that I would have wanted because of the opportunities that exist in Chile. That's why you saw so many Venezuelans come here. That's why you saw so many Haitians come here. Now, I will say that you should look at that as something to be proud of. Where else did the Haitians and Venezuelans want to go? They chose Chile. Why did they choose Chile? They chose Chile because of your economic system, because of your political system, because of the opportunities that they would have. So think of yourself. If you were a citizen of Nicaragua in 97, would you want to stay in Nicaragua or would you want to go seek something else? And that's the hard part. The hard part is, how do you help economies to grow when their politicians don't want those economies to grow? And that's the hardest part of illegal immigration. And that's the part that to date, nobody's been able to solve.
Muchas gracias. ¿Cómo describiría el estado actual de las relaciones diplomáticas entre ambos países, entre Chile y Estados Unidos? ¿Y cuáles son, bajo su mirada, los nuevos desafíos bilaterales del futuro que vamos a tener que enfrentar?
Bueno, hasta ahora hemos logrado mucho con esta administración. Como le he dicho, tenemos un vetted FBI unit. Es una cosa que su administración pidió a los Estados Unidos. También tenemos INL. Pero hay otras cosas que estamos trabajando también. DFC es una, en español es muy difícil, pero DFC es una empresa que invierte mucho en otros países y ellos no podían invertir en Chile antes, pero ahora se puede. Y se puede porque por la relación que tenemos con Presidente Cast. También, bueno, a usted, ¿cuántos países reconoce la UN de todo el mundo? ¿Cuántos? ¿Más de qué? No. 195. 195. UN reconoce 195 países de todo el mundo. Y si tuvimos la cancillería de cada de estos países, ¿okay? Porque yo puedo decirles que cada país ha pedido, la cancillería de todos los países han pedido una reunión con Secretario Rubio. Todos han pedido. Pero si tuvimos todos los cancillerías aquí en esta sala, ¿cuántos creen que han tenido una reunión con Secretario Rubio? ¿Cómo? 11. Y su país fue uno. Su país fue uno de estos 11. Bueno, una reunión en Washington, D.C., porque él ha tenido muchas reuniones, pero muy pequeños, pero todos han pedido una reunión en Washington, D.C. y solo habían muy pocos, pero Chile ha sido uno de los países que han logrado una reunión. Entonces, la relación es muy importante para nosotros y siempre será.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Y la última pregunta, antes de comenzar con las preguntas de la gente acá, del público, de los estudiantes. Si usted estuviera sentado entre el público en estos momentos, como un estudiante que está planificando su vida para los próximos 5 o 10 años, ¿cuál cree usted que serían las decisiones que usted tomaría pensando en su futuro? ¿No? Usted ahora no está acá, sino que está ahí sentado como estudiante.
Bueno, yo no soy tan inteligente como ustedes, entonces, ¿qué sé yo? He sido equivocado en muchas cosas. Y me imagino que ustedes piensen en qué ha sido en sus vidas también. Me imagino que han sido equivocados en muchas cosas. I'm going to answer this. Don't worry about when you're wrong. Don't worry about it. Try to fix the mistakes that you've made. If you work on fixing the mistakes that you've made, you will grow. The other thing that I would highly recommend is work hard and don't worry about the future. Don't worry about it. I know that there are students around the entire world that are worried that jobs are going to be taken away because of AI. We've already been through that. The world has been through this many, many times. The Industrial Revolution, that's the exact same thing that was said back then, was that machines are going to take the jobs of people, and it didn't happen. What happened was machines created more jobs. What I would say, if I were sitting in your seat, what advice would I give myself? I would tell myself, work hard, fix the mistakes that I've made, recognize that I'm going to make more mistakes, and I wouldn't worry about the future. Because if I'm a hard worker, if I'm constantly trying to better myself, there's going to be a place for me in this world. That's the advice that I would give myself.
Perfecto, muchas gracias, señor embajador. Ahora abrimos la etapa de preguntas de ustedes hacia el señor embajador en esta discusión académica de preguntas para él, que sean ojalá preguntas muy precisas, ojalá cortas, y bueno, está muy abierto a responder todas sus inquietudes.
Si quiere hablar con Aran, está bien. Aranceles, está bien. Cualquier cosa. Y les voy a decir que yo siempre tengo tiempo por estudiantes. Yo estuve en la Universidad de Chile y estuve allí por 2 horas y media y después los que estaban estudiando ley querían tener otra reunión conmigo, entonces yo les invité a la embajada y tuve 3 horas más con ellos. So, si yo no puedo contestar la pregunta y si ustedes piden a su rector o no sé quién, si quiere tener otra reunión, siempre estoy dispuesto. Entonces, ya, ¿tiene pregunta?
Me gustaría conocer su postura acerca del alza de los aranceles y si cree que esto afecta obviamente la relación entre Chile y Estados Unidos. Digo, la estabilidad de la relación.
Okay, ¿está bien si contesto en inglés? Okay, so when I asked you the question, what would you do if you were the ambassador of Chile to the United States? What would you do? Now, I ask that question of a lot of people all the time. That's one of the questions that I always ask. And what I normally get, your answers were a lot different than what I normally got. But I think that your answers were different because you're a little smarter than some people. But generally speaking, what I always get is whatever your interests are. We have interests. The United States has interests. We're going to have interests. So we're going to look at what our interests are. Now, what I will tell you is that we are negotiating the tariffs with you right now. Okay? We've already excluded copper, which is the most important export. We've already excluded copper. You have a negotiator that's trying to get salmon excluded, fruits and vegetables excluded, wines excluded. There are ongoing negotiations. Now, trade agreements are always subject to renegotiations. They're always subject to that. And that's what we're doing. We are renegotiating the trade agreement right now. What I would say, obviously, I always get the question, well, that's going to hurt the relationship with Chile and the United States. Well, that's up to Chile. That's up to you. What I will say is, if you look, bueno, otra pregunta a usted. No, atrás. Sí, usted. Yo tengo una pregunta para usted. What is your largest trading partner? I'm not talking about exports. I'm talking about in total trade. What is Chile's largest trading partner? It is not. It is not.
It's not?
In fact, it's not even close. It's not even close. Export market, yes. Yes, China is your number one export market. I'm talking total trade. Total trade. Who is your largest trading partner? And by the way, it's not the United States. So let me take that out of the question. Who? It is not. It's not even close. Not even close. Canada is your number one foreign direct investor, but not your largest trading partner. Trading partner. All trade, foreign direct investment, exports. Who's your largest trading partner? Come on, you're killing me. You're killing me. It is not. Yes, thank you very much. Give him a, please, give him a candy. Okay. The European Union as one block is your largest trading partner. Okay, I'm talking about all trade, not just exports. Not just exports. But if we limit it to one country, who's your largest trading partner? The US. Yes, give that person one too. Yes, if we limit it, because the EU is obviously made up of a bunch of countries. But if we limit it to one country, then the United States is your largest trading partner. Now, if we look at it in a block, then your largest trading partner by far, is the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It's your largest trading partner as a block. So when we look at tariffs, yeah, we're going to look at what our interests are, okay? I could give you the history of why we're doing what we're doing, but you can study that yourself. Look at World War I, look at World War II. Look at what the United States did to rebuild Europe. And from that came what we currently have. Well, we're now in a situation where we have to look at things differently, okay? But what I can tell you is, for the question, you have a great negotiator. Paula Esteves is a great negotiator. If I had the choice of a negotiator, I would choose Paula Esteves. Okay? Other questions? Yes, please.
¿Qué es lo que motiva que el Tratado de Libre Comercio del año 2004 entre Chile y Estados Unidos, el bloque a cual aquí pertenece, entiendo que se trataría de un tratado entre Canadá, Estados Unidos, México también entiendo, rectifico, Alaska, y lo cual incluye a Chile, ¿por qué aquel no prevalece frente a los aranceles que aquí se colocan en la administración Trump? ¿Qué motiva a que no sea el asunto principal que se está tratando?
So again, the questions that you're asking, the question that you're asking is your thinking, and please do not take this as offense. I don't mean this as offense, okay? Does everybody understand? Everybody understand me? Okay, please do not take this as offense, but your questions, your thinking, what's your mindset? Your mindset, you're thinking of how? Who are you thinking in the place of? Yes, you're thinking in the mindset of Chile. To understand something, you have to think in the mindset of the other country. Okay? There's reasons that other countries do stuff. if you think in that mindset, so for me to be a good ambassador, what I have to try to do is I have to try to put myself in your place. I have to try to think about how you think. How do you feel? What are you thinking? That's what I have to do. I can't be a good ambassador if I'm not trying to think about what your interests are. If you don't try to think about what the United States' interests are, you're always going to look at it from one prism. Now, what I can tell you in trying to think about being in your shoes, I have given my recommendations. I have told the United States what I think we should do as far as the tariffs go. And my voice is heard. My voice is considered, which is why certain things were exempted. Now, we're continuing with the negotiations. It would be very premature to answer questions on tariffs until it's finally done, because we're not close to being done. The negotiations are ongoing. Okay? Any other questions? Yes. Okay, I will say this over and over and over again. Trade with China. Trade with them. Export. If they want to buy something, if they want to buy a product of yours, please, by all means, sell it to them. Okay? If you see something that's important that you think you should buy from China, buy it. Do it. To us, the red line is very, very simple. Your country has asked us to share intelligence with you. Your country has asked us to be a military partnership, to work with you militarily. What we ask in exchange is that you do not give up sovereignty, that you do not give up something that is then going to hurt our national security. Trading with China obviously hurts our economy if you trade with China. But that's not a red line. That's not a red line. The red line is when you give up sovereignty that is going to hurt our national security. And you can do that. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. That is your choice. You have the sovereign right. But if you do that, then can you then ask us for intelligence? We can't. We can't share intelligence. We can't cooperate militarily if you give up sovereignty that's going to hurt our national security. That's it. That's it. Trade with China. Trade with them. We trade with China. We buy products from China. We sell products to China. Everybody around the world does. Trade with them. Trade with them. Watch sovereignty. That's where we stand. Okay? Other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes. So that's always going to happen. Always. So what we have to try to do is we then have to try to understand what your interests are, and we hope that you will try to understand what our interests are. So, all right, here's a good question for you. Here's a good question for you. Should diplomacy fail? Does everybody understand that question? Should diplomacy fail? It shouldn't? It shouldn't fail? I disagree. I disagree 100%. Diplomacy fails all the time. And there are times that diplomacy should fail. Absolutely. How many of you have had a boyfriend or girlfriend that broke up with you? Show hands, show hands, show hands. How many of you have had a boyfriend or girlfriend that broke up with you? Come on. You guys are lying. The only person in this room that has never had their heart broken is me. That's it. Because why would anybody want to break my heart? Okay? Look, you have relationships. You have parental relationships. You have friend relationships. You have boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. Some of you might have been married before or might still be married. You have relationships with your teachers. You have relationships all over. This is diplomacy. That's all relationships are diplomacy. And diplomacy absolutely at times should fail. And the reason why it should fail is because if you're not willing to meet the interest of another person, or if that person is only expecting you to meet their interests, that relationship isn't going to work. So there's going to be times where the Trump administration and the Cast administration do not agree. It's going to happen. It always happens. There's times that I don't agree with my wife. She always agrees with me, though. It happens. What we have to do when those interests do not meet together, we have to see if there's some common ground. We have to see if there's common ground to where at least parts of our interests can be satisfied. That's how I see the bilateral relationship. Yes? How do we strengthen the relationship with the United States and Chile? Okay. We look at what our common interests are. Chile looks at the interests of the United States. We look at the interests of Chile. And we try to meet those interests. That's how you strengthen a relationship. Okay? The fact, again, remains, we don't always agree with our parents. We don't always agree with our boyfriend, our girlfriend, our children. We don't always agree. But if both parties are trying to work on that relationship together, generally speaking, we're able to solve a lot of problems. And that's where diplomacy doesn't fail. Where diplomacy doesn't fail is when both parties are trying to work on the relationship together. Yes? So, okay, everybody knows that I'm a Republican, right? Does everybody know that? Okay, all right, so let's not make any mistakes. I am a Republican, so I generally tend to look at the rule of law. I look at the rule of law. That's the first place that I start. What are the laws? What do the laws say? How do we implement those laws? That's the first place that I look. Then I look at, okay, Are there exceptions? Are there exceptions to the laws? And what are those exceptions? Then how do we meet the law and that exception? That's what we have to look at. So I 100% believe that if you live in a country, we'll just use, help me out, name a country. Name a country that's dangerous. Okay, Haiti. Haiti, who said that? Hey, give him a candy. You already have a candy. You already have one. No. Give the candy to the person sitting next to him because she's probably giving him the answers. So we'll use Haiti. Haiti's a good example because a lot of Haitians have come to Chile as well. So Haiti's a good example. I 100% believe that if you can prove that your life is in danger because you live in Haiti, that you should be able to ask for asylum. 100% believe that. That's what our laws are. We believe that. What I don't believe is I don't believe that while that process is ongoing, that you have to be released into the United States. Because what we have found is that when we release people into the United States, pending an asylum claim, they never show up to their hearings. They just disappear and never show back up. So we have made it a rule that if you ask for asylum in the United States, you have the right, and we'll listen to that asylum claim, but you're going to wait in a safe third country, until that asylum claim is adjudicated. That's how we meet the humanitarian aspect of it, and we also meet the laws. I believe that Chile can do the same, but you're going to have to work multilaterally rather than bilaterally. And that's much more difficult than bilaterally. Okay? Yes? So, can I ask you a question? Okay? How important do you believe Chile is to the United States? Okay? How many of you believe that Chile is one of our top 25 countries of interest? How many of you believe that? Okay. I would say that you are absolutely correct. Okay, and I'm going to use evidence. So evidence. It's one thing to say something. Now let's back it up with evidence. Okay? How many countries in South America have the visa waiver program? Who? Obviously. Okay? How many countries in South America has Secretary Rubio committed to coming to a change of what we call an inauguration, cambio de mando? How many countries has Secretary Rubio committed to going to? He doesn't, but he committed to coming to Chile. He didn't because of the threat that existed, because right when that happened, the Iran conflict broke out. Okay? Chile is a very important country. Chile is a very, very important country. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is act like it. Act like you're important. If you act like you're not important, how are you going to get treated? How are you treated if you act like you're not important? You don't get treated well. Act like you're important. Recognize that you're important, and act like you're important, and you will be treated like you're important. Okay? Yes? Okay. So, disculpe, ¿cuántos de ustedes no me entienden cuando hablo inglés? Por favor, levanta la mano si no me entiende cuando hablo inglés. Yo quiero contestar las preguntas en español, pero hay temas que son muy difíciles a contestar y por eso contesten en inglés. Entonces, espero que sí está bien si continúo contestando las preguntas en inglés. Porque este tema allí, yo no voy a ni tratar de contestar la pregunta en español. So, President Trump has said, and it's so fun. Can I ask you a frank question? Will you answer it honestly? Okay? Do you like President Trump? Okay. All right. Then I don't want to ask you. I don't want to ask you. I want somebody who doesn't like President Trump. Okay? All right? Show of hands of who does not like President Trump. Okay? All right? So I've answered one of your questions. So let's, why don't you like President Trump? Yes. Why? Está bien. Cualquier. Okay, all right. So one of the reasons why President Trump is, so I'm going to tell you right now, do not trust the polls. Just don't. The polls have been wrong over and over and over and over and over again, okay? President Trump is very popular because he tells people what he's thinking. Now, to some people, that's bad. To some people, they want him to act more diplomatically, okay? But come on, how many of you, when you ask somebody a question, do you not just want the honest answer? President Trump says exactly what he's thinking. That's what he does. He says it in different ways. Sometimes he says it on social media. Sometimes he says it in the news. Sometimes he says it in other ways. But President Trump has said over and over and over again, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon, period. Period. That's it. They're not going to get a nuclear weapon. We are not going to allow them to get a nuclear weapon. And that's what our goal in Iran is. Now, what I will tell you is over the past couple days, there have been several countries that have come together in the Middle East, and they have formed their own, what they call their own NATO. And this is moving away from the Strait of Hormuz to where Iran can no longer use ideology to block what's in the interest of the world. So while I understand and President Trump recognizes that U.S. citizens, our energy costs have gone up, Chile's energy costs have gone up, all around the world the cost of energy has gone up. But he's also recognized that once that problem is solved, energy costs come down lower than what they were before, and they come down for the long term, because now Iran will not have any hold over those energies. And that's what we're currently seeing right now. We're seeing energy being shifted away from a dangerous location to a location that is not so dangerous. President Trump's been very clear. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. That's what he said. He said it over and over and over again. Okay? Other questions? Yes?
What do you think about the reforma in Chile?
The what?
¿Qué piensas sobre la vera reforma en Chile?
The what reform? So, can I be frank again? So I don't mind. So let me be clear. I do not mind if you criticize the United States. Okay, does everybody understand that? Y'all can say whatever you want about the United States, and I'm not going to take offense. So I'm going to ask you, don't take offense at what I say either. Is that okay? Do we have that agreement? All right. As long as we have that agreement, I'll tell you exactly what I think. All right? I won't use diplomatic speak. Okay? For the last 6 years, your economy has stagnated. That's what's happened. Last 6 years, your economy has stagnated. There needs to be a change. There has to be a change. You can't continue to do the same thing and expect different results. And so I am very, very impressed with the people President Cast has surrounded himself with. He has not surrounded himself with typical politicians. He has surrounded himself with some of the best business-minded people in the country. Quiroz. This guy is amazing. He has an amazing business mind. Business mind. Look at who was just appointed as the president of Codelco. Incredible business mind. What President Cast did was he brought in business leaders, and he looked at this from a business standpoint, from an economic standpoint. How can you change the economics of the current situation? And I'm very impressed with the law that just got passed. And I'm sorry I'm getting cut off. So please let me just tell you this. If you get with the heads of your department and you want to have a continued conversation with me, I am always willing to cut out time. And I will tell you, I am insanely busy. But I love speaking with students. Love it. So if you get with the heads of your department, I'm always willing to come and we can speak in smaller groups. Always willing to do that. Thank you.
Gracias, Embajador Judd. Muchas gracias, Embajador. Como ven, vamos a necesitar más tiempo y otros momentos para seguir conversando. Queremos a todos ustedes agradecerles su participación en esta nueva jornada, en este nuevo encuentro de embajadores y especialmente a nuestro invitado el día de hoy. Muchas gracias, Embajador Judd, por haber compartido su mirada. Un aplauso y cerramos esta tarde.